One of the problems with groups of anglers in the 80s and 90s is there is a distinct lack of exchange of information between these angling groups. As a sea angler, I've come here today to try and help carp fishermen to reach distances that they've never been able to reach before. First, a word on safety. A lump of lead in the wrong hands can be extremely dangerous. So we use a shock leader to ensure that we are aware of our fellow human beings and not going to do them any damage. As a general rule, a shock leader should be at least double the length of the fishing rod that you're using, and it needs to be around about 10 pounds breaking strain for every ounce of the lead that you're using. Today we're using a 2 3/4 ounce bomb, so I've got 30 pound breaking strain, high visibility leader. Anglers in the 60s and 70s were guided by a gentleman by the name of Leslie Moncrief, who devised this particular method for use with very soft and in some cases reverse taper rods. It might work with a reverse taper rod, but today we're using modern fast taper equipment, and this method doesn't work with fast taper rods. As you can see, if I try and load the rod from here, we don't get much of a bend. Now if we move the lead inside a tip of the rod and put the same amount of effort in fact half the effort, as you can see I'm just holding with one finger with my left hand, as you can see we bend the rod. If we can bend the rod, we can cast with it. Thank you, Bob. So now we've prepared for the cast. We've got a length of line between the rod tip and the lead of 6 feet on this 12-foot rod. My feet are now placed roughly at 45 degrees to the direction I want to cast. I now put the bail arm over and I swing the lead gently inside and underneath the rod so that the lead is in between the rod tip and the backs of my heels. The rod is held slightly extended and well away from my body. It's not held close in, it's held well away with my left hand in front of my right shoulder. The target is not the horizon. The target is approximately 45 degrees up in the air. This is the big mistake that people make. They think that the horizon is where they're aiming for. Where they need to aim for is up in the clouds. So without further ado, we're all set, ready to go. On the ground, the bail arm's over, left hand in front of right shoulder, held well away, head round, looking up, cast. Approximately 140 yards with no effort at all. We will demonstrate this one more time once I've got all the line back. Going for the cormorants now, you'll be pleased to know. I don't know how close we can get to them. Are you ready? You better be. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's going the right way. That weren't far away, I know. Having shown you the medium fast taper rod and a fixed spool reel, I'm now going to demonstrate while the average British sea angler uses a multiplying reel instead of a fixed spool. For this we're using a rod capable of casting the same amount of lead, but as you can see it's a much tippier action, and the reel I'm using is a 20-year-old multiplier made in Sweden. The reel is fitted with a level wind mechanism, it's fitted with a centrifugal brake mechanism inside, and it's also fitted with what's known as an end cap adjuster. The same method of casting can be used with this as with the previous rod, i.e. the simple high inertia off the ground cast, but in this particular case I'm going to show you a simple pendulum cast. Now all the pendulum casting is going to do is to put the lead in the air above where we had it on the ground. That is all there is to pendulum casting. The main problem is actually learning how to swing the lead in the correct direction and to keep it going. Now a lot of people have a lot of difficulty doing this, so I've devised a nice easy method. If you get yourself set up for the off the ground cast, so, and then push down towards the ground with the left hand, the lead will flick out in exactly the right direction. I'll show you that again. Lead on the ground as if we're doing the off the ground cast. Get yourself set up, and then with the left hand push the rod butt straight down towards the ground, and that will flick the lead out in the right direction. Allow it to swing back until it's reached a point in the air directly over where we had it on the ground, and then follow through from the off the ground cast position. And we'll now show you that in one easy movement. So lead on the ground, push down with the left, out flicks the lead, back it comes, and out she goes. I should do that again. On the ground, push down with left, out she swings, let it climb. Judging by the line level, about 180 yards. Right, we've shown you how to do it. Let's go and show some carp anglers how to do it.
Well, the conditions we've got now spell out some of the problems that we've got in long range carping. I'm fishing at a range of 80 to 100 yards across the wind. It's difficult getting the free offerings out there in these conditions, and at the moment I'm fishing with 18mm boilies, which are the easiest to fire out to that sort of distance. But the escalating problem that you get on carp waters all over the country is that the fish are becoming very wary of baits of that size, and they're inspecting them individually. Now, more and more I'm going for smaller baits, not because I want the single bait out to the horizon, but purely and simply because with the powerful rods and the long range casting and using PVA stringers, I can achieve a degree of preoccupation way out there where the carp isn't expecting to find a cluster of baits. He might associate danger with a single bait, but he isn't looking for that source of danger in a cluster of baits together. And the smaller you go on bait, the further you can get, or the more baits you can get together way out there. So 14mm baits, if you can get the casting technique and the rod that'll get you half a dozen 14mm baits out to 100, 120 yards, and for the same rod, the same cast, it will get you perhaps 20 8mm baits. Your carp's coming in, he's used to inspecting a single bait, he'll be taken off guard by a little cluster of 20 8mm baits, and that might catch you your carp in circumstances where it wouldn't with a single bait.
spoilies.
Right, we've topped up the side bait carriers there. We've got a separate one for the rig at the back. I can actually release those independently, so I can drop the rig off first, reverse the boat back a little bit, drop these free offerings so all the bait's in a nice compact area. And I'm going to send it out now and see if we can tempt another fish. Always advisable to have a pal to hold the rod and play the line out for you.
And Muggins is here holding the rod, which I would just like to make it clear it is Gibbins' rod, as I won't be seen dead with those things out on the water.
When it gets to about 6-0 in my favour, we'll see what Tim thinks about that. Well, that would be about the range where I had the take. We'll stop it there. Release the rig. Bring the boat back a little bit. Now release the bait. And there it goes. And bring it back. Casting's a thing of the past.
I'm going to put some free offerings on top of that. Well, that's all right in the conditions, and it's out where I want it at the moment, but it isn't, the power isn't there for the sort of casting that I really want to do with these stringers. So I'm going to have a word with the man who can probably show me how to get the extra distance that I want. All right, Phil?
Yeah, wonderful. Right, Tim, let's see what you can do with one of these
Right.
things, and we'll take it from there.
I'll have a prod under your expert eye.
Well, we just want to see what you can do to start off with.
I'm just knocking it out onto the baited area against that pine tree you can see in the background there. This is 2.5 rod and 3 ounce lead.
It's a straight overhead cast, which is obviously what you've been using for quite some time.
Well,
but
it is, that's right, yeah.
I think we can improve somewhat on that. What we'll do is we'll initiate you into what we call the high inertia technique, which is basically keeping your bait and lead inside the arc described by the tip of the rod. At the moment, your lead and bait are just following the tip, whereas if we use a high inertia technique, we can actually pull the tip right round and preload the tip. It's quite startling when you see it done. It'll
Right,
blow your mind.
right. Sounds very technical, but if it'll get me casting further, we'll have a go at it.
The main thing to remember is what we're aiming to do is to get you casting just as far with minimum effort.
Right.
That's the essence of this.
Yeah,
So that if you do need to open your shoulders, it will go further.
right.
But the idea is minimum effort, maximum distance.
Fine.
Okay?
Okay, we'll have a look at that.
Right. Now this particular method, Tim, utilises the weight, and we're putting the weight in the centre of the arc described by the tip of the rod when we cast. Now what that will do is preload the tip of the rod, pull it right the way around into its casting arc with no effort at all. Now the old-fashioned methods used to invoke putting the lead outside the arc of the rod and pulling through, but in fact it doesn't actually bend the rod, as you can see. Now this high inertia method puts the lead inside the arc of the rod, and as you can see with minimal effort, I'll just use one finger, we can pull the rod into compression against the inertia of the lead weight. So to cast, all we need to do is have 3 fixed points. First fixed point is the rod tip, The second fixed point is the lead. The third fixed point is the back of my left heel. So we stand semi-facing the water where we want to go. We've got the rod tip down, lead in the right place, heel all nicely in line, bail arm over. And now we want a left hand in front of the right shoulder and lift the left hand as high as it will go, turn your head and look up roughly 45 degrees. Always look up there and then cast.
Easy as that.
And you'll notice there's no effort at all involved.
Ah, see that.
Now it's your turn.
Right.
And because it's you, we'll make you wind it in. Righto Tim, we'll just get this wound in nicely and away we'll go again. This time, your go.
Well, Kevin, that sun's coming out a bit at last.
Righto, get yourself set up with your 3 set points.
Right, you'll have to talk me through this again.
Okay, so bail arm over, that's the first thing.
First?
Yeah,
right.
Bail arm over, right.
I want the
Lead
lead
on the
floor.
ground, right now.
Right.
If you shuffle up, that's it, keep going till the rod tip's right on the ground.
Right.
That's it, now we want the rod tip and the lead and your left heel in line, so move your left foot back, bit more, literally shuffle yourself round that way, that's the way. Right, left hand nice and high, left hand in front of right shoulder. Right, you know where everything's coming from.
Give me that again, left hand in front of right shoulder.
Left hand in front of right shoulder.
In front of it, this
That's
side
it.
of it.
That's it,
Yeah.
that's it, and keep it well away.
Right.
Keep that line nice and taut, that's why you keep it on the ground, you see.
Right.
Now you can turn your head,
Right.
everything's set.
Yeah.
You can look up there, which is where we want it to go. Okay, and away you go.
Right. Look at where I'm aiming, look up there.
That's it, and that's where you want the lead to go.
That was in the air a long time.
Results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Try it again. Most important thing with this is you mustn't use beef, mustn't use brute strength, use the technique.
Right.
You need to use this technique to keep the power turned down. Doing this will mean that you don't snatch off baits, you don't derange baits, you don't mess up your rigs. Very important.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are worried about casting off the ground. If you're worried about casting off the ground, you might have noticed the lead lifts off absolutely cleanly every time.
Yeah.
But if people are worried about it, all you do is lay out one of these babies changing mats, spear it all 4 corners. Again, rob the wife's drawers in the kitchen. Wooden skewers are the ideal thing, or the old metal skewers if you can find them. Just skewer it down so it can't move, wind can't blow it away. Put your rig and your boilies and all your bits and pieces on there, and then over you go. Cast.
Right.
Easy.
Right.
Right, have another go.
Okay.
This time I won't talk you through it.
Well, what sort of drop are you talking about here on the lead?
If it's
Is that about right?
If it's comfortable, stick with it.
Yeah.
Now, thing with this particular cast, with a pendulum cast, if it feels wrong, you lengthen the drop.
Yeah.
With this cast, if the rod feels soft, you shorten the drop.
Right.
Right. Conversely, obviously, if the rod feels
Stiffens
too
it a
stiff,
bit, yeah.
lengthen the drop.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that people have got to experiment with. What
Right,
suits-
now, I don't think my position was quite 100% comfortable then, but
Well, it's not designed for comfort, it's designed for doing
right.
the job.
How's that then?
That looks quite comfortable. Right, and now you turn your head,
Right.
and away you go.
Look at the sky. Throw it there.
That's it,
Right.
lovely and straight, look at that.
Even managed to follow it this time.
There you are. How's that?
Yep.
Was that easy or was that easy?
Very easy. Very easy.
Now you notice that although we're not coming from your old overhead, you'll notice that direction doesn't suffer.
That's right. Yeah.
If you need to change direction, I see so many people getting ready and they're trying to cast over there or they're trying to cast over there without moving the feet. With this cast, what you need to do is to go and practice it so that you can get your directional accuracy from there. Then if you want to cast that way, you shuffle your feet.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
If you can,
Well, you've got to
yeah.
maintain that line, haven't you? You're
That's
casting through a straight line.
A
Yeah.
good analogy is if you've got a tank and want to shoot, you don't bend the barrel to shoot over there. You turn the whole lot.
Right.
In this case, you turn your feet.
That was a long way. That's a lot of winding in.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what you came here to learn. And what we've got to do now is apply this to your carp fishing. Rightio, we'll have that in. Give it one more go. Right, we've set up 3 set points, correct length of drop, left hand in front of right shoulder. We know where it's coming from. Now if we turn ahead, look where it's going. Up there.
Up there.
Not the horizon. And away we go.
Line it up.
Oh, that looks fine. That looks fine. Right, I'll leave you to get on with that. Have a few practice casts. Go and see how Clive's getting on. And I should be back in about an hour.
Okay, good luck.
Ah, just in time, Clive.
How's Tim getting on?
Oh, he's not doing too bad over there. We've set him up with the off the ground cast.
Yeah.
And we've left him to his own devices for about an hour.
Right.
Let him play about with that. Now, you've already done a bit of off the ground.
Yeah, I've already got that one.
So what we're going to do now is to get you to transfer what you already know and turn it into the simple pendulum cast.
Right.
Okay, so we'll go and do that now.
Okay. Got plenty of leads and lines.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I'll have a tea later.
Yep. Right, we're now set in a position for the off the ground cast.
Yeah.
But what we're doing now is we're going to transfer this to the pendulum cast.
Right, we're using a longer drop, Phil.
Yeah, we've used a longer drop for a specific reason. As you come round in the cast, so we need to wind the rod up even further, and we're utilising the idea of holding the lead right smack bang in the centre of this circle that we've created.
Right.
And you can see this working. If you stir a cup of tea with the froth on top, the froth always stays in the middle. It don't go to the edge, it goes to the middle. So we want the lead to stay in the middle of this big sphere that we're creating with the rod tip for as long as possible. So the rod bends against the inertia of the lead. And as we carry on round, so the lead will start to move out and round. And by that time, you'll have turned to face the water. The rod will be well bent, and the energy that you've stored within the rod will literally catapult the lead out where we want it to go. But the first thing we've got to do is to get the lead in the right position. And the right position for that lead, for this type of cast, is to get it roughly up here in the air.
Right.
Okay, so what we do now is we push down with the left hand.
So it's up into that position with the off the ground
That's
cast.
it, yep.
Line tight.
Push down with the left hand and the lead will come out to about here. That's good. Let it climb.
Yeah.
That's it. Now that was fine. Now we'll do that again because it needs emphasising that particular method of getting the lead to swing should be practiced. Okay.
Okay.
And until you've got the hang of it, you can actually do this in your back garden. You don't need a bit of water to do it. You can practice that I mean, don't go casting or you'll find sort of people 300 yards away will be complaining about leads through their
so on the line parallel with the direction we want to cast.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
That's great. So push down with your left, out she comes, let it climb. That's lovely. Well, that's the easiest 150 yards you've ever cast.
Without a doubt.
Absolute doddle. Let's have a look how much line's left on the spool. Yeah, we can see the backing. We started off with 220 yards and £9 on there, and we can see the backing through it. So
allowing for the drift. So
you've taken a lot of line off. Try it again. Wind in.
I'll have another go. Well, I'm obviously getting increased range, Phil. How am I going to sort out the direction?
Well, now you've learnt how to sling it a long way, what we've got to do now is to concentrate on your feet positions.
Yeah.
Okay, now if you imagine that this rod is the direction for my feet being there.
Right.
All right, you mustn't try and do what so many people do, which is try and change the direction by casting in a different direction, because that will completely cobble up what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
What you must do is do what the tank turret does, which is swivel.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I want to go towards that swan there, I've swiveled my feet, I'll start from back here, cast. Conversely, if I want to go that way, then I'll turn my feet and cast that way. Okay, so there's no problem with direction. Everything comes from the feet, okay? Once you've practiced the cast and you know where your leg goes for your feet positions, from there on you can then adjust to whichever direction you want to go, and that will give you the accuracy you want. Just as an example, I was practicing a couple of weeks ago and I actually sent a lead 2 football pitches and I hit the penalty spot. That'll give you an idea of how accurate this cast can be once you practice.
I think we're better have a go at it.
Yep.
Right.
Anyway, I'm off.
Okay.
Side,
Well, thanks for your help.
and we'll see you later on.
Nothing to do with it.
Got the roll on its side now. Come on, baby.
Yep, I got him. Yes. Oh, that's a better fish.
A little better size. You want me to take your rod,
You
Clive?
take the rod, Phil, please.
Certainly will.
We'll hoist him up onto the grass at the top. That's almost a fully scaled.
But it's just like a mirror, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it hasn't got the
It
sort
is
of,
actually a mirror carp,
yeah.
but virtually fully scaled. See that leech on it?
Oh yes. Take them off or leave them on?
Yeah, take them off.
Horrible things. Rightio, let's get them in the waist now. Give them a quick way and then back to the water.
You could just kick the land in and out of the way.
Yeah, okay. If you'd like to step over. Okay, baby, won't be long.
Okay, well these are nice, these unhooking nets and waist sling combinations that we've got available these days.
With a fish like this, what's it worth? There? Far more in the water than on the fishmonger's slab, obviously.
Absolutely. 15 and a half.
That'll do nicely. Right.
Okay.
Right, baby. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll see you again next year.
Lovely colours that. Orange, isn't it?
Just hold them upright while they recover, or if he wants to go, you let it go.
It should be alright. Nice fish.
Beautiful.
Quite a long way out now.
He's decided he wants to go and see Tim. Oh yes.
Ooh,
Yes, that's a fair old curve in the rod now.
swinging right round to the right. Oh my, we're getting perilously close.
Isn't he? Do you think aim for the bricks?
I think it might be. I have to scamper up there.
Don't seem to work, that bit of disturbance, just pushed him out.
Yeah.
There he
I
is.
thought we'd.
As you say, you can't afford to have a fish like that getting stuck in the margins and leaving with all tackle and stuff hanging from his round.
No. I mean, it's going to happen periodically. I mean,
Oh yes, oh I just saw the flank then, lovely.
covered a lot of ground into that one. It's
Yeah, do you
still
want me to
right.
let him?
You can have a go by all means, Bob. It's a question of leaving the net there.
Yeah, and just
Let
bring
me
him
pull him
over.
right over the lip.
There you go, it's nice and sunk nice and deep. You can stand a bit back as well, give you a bit more control. Do you use a high handhold just to give yourself a bit more pressure in the closing stages?
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, yes. I think he's the biggest one yet. It looks a good size. He's got a mark on his back. Great grain job.
We've got him!
He's ours.
Oh, that's a good fish.
That is a
That's a
beautiful,
really
that
good
is a
fish.
that is a real stonker, that is. Okay, mate. It's all right.
That is fabulous. Look at that.
What a fabulous fish. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, absolutely gorgeous.
I want to guess.
Fins immaculate.
Look at this.
Beautiful tail. Not a
These are a
oh,
strain
yeah.
of carp called leany fish,
Uh-huh.
which famous for being in red mine. Absolutely gorgeous. That won't be far off 20 pounds, I wouldn't think.
Right, let's get him straight in the waist sling.
Could you move the
You lift, I'll take the net.
landing it? Fantastic. God, that is gorgeous.
That's £17.
No.
Is he over?
What's the dial, right?
I'll tell you what, let me lift, you read.
Well, you've got to watch the bands going on. That's 8, 16, 23, 2.
£23 2 ounce, fabulous. Congratulations.
Brilliant, that is
Right.
a real good fish.
Let's go and put the baby back in the water now, shall we?
Well, I think what we'll do, we'll sack him up for half an hour while I got organised. I'll
Okay.
have some stills
That's
with
some
the,
nice photographs, right.
photos of that one, yeah. Okay, well so far so good, Phil.
2 nice fish,
2 nice fish. Dropped another fish.
and it's not even lunchtime.
It's not even lunchtime.
Great. Now, what I'm going to show you, us sea fishermen tend to get a bit paranoid about shock leaders and safety.
Yeah.
Now, this is nice and yellow, so we can see what we're doing. I'm not asking you to use bright yellow for carp fishing. Obviously, some people... Shock horror. Right. Now, this one's a knot that was invented 20 years ago by a chap by the name of Dennis Darkin, who was a well-known Kentish carp angler of the time.
Right,
Well,
yeah, I know the name.
same time as Jerry Savage and 1 or 2 others down in that neck of the woods. Now, what he suggested was to tie a double
Overhand knot.
That's it, a double overhand. Put it through twice,
Yeah.
pull, and it turns over.
And there's your figure of 8 there, yeah?
Yep. Through there. Through there. Finger in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Through there. Around the back. Back through the way we came. 1, 2. Pull on the short end to form the knot. Bit of lick. Right, having got the knot set in the area we want and everything going in the right direction, now you can see this tightening up. Pull again on the short end. Away we go. There we are. See it tighten?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Did you get that?
Yeah. One you'd have to practice a few times, I think, before
Oh
you
yeah, of course.
spot on.
There it is. No, just cut straight across there. So you can see that all the ends actually poke out that side of the knot. So as it travels through the rings,
Yeah.
it won't catch.
And it's tapered
That
front
way.
to back, yeah, perfect.
That's it. Obviously this is pretty thick line. Carp fishermen wouldn't be using this. But that'll go through a set of rings, just like it'll just whisper through. Absolutely amazing. Now let's hold that in and pull. That's strong enough? Okay. Right, now that's quite a complex knot. So we'll now show you a simple knot. Let's take that one out. Single overhand in the thick leader line.
Call it a granny knot, wouldn't we?
That's just a single overhand knot, quite simple. Right, there's two ways you can thread this through. That's the wrong way, and that's the right way.
Yeah.
Right, it becomes obvious when you look at it. Right, so thread it through, bit of lick, and now tighten that single overhand up against the main line. Now pull the main line through, and you'll find you've got a little kink there.
Yeah, that's where that's compressed it.
That's
a really thick line.
So what we do now is we snip that bit off and discard it. Now hold the main line against the shock leader.
Yeah.
Make a single loop so it crosses at the front.
Right.
Okay, it's facing you, the cross.
Yeah.
Now all you do is you bring that
Once.
through, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold the short end and pull it to the left.
Yeah.
Now, as you saw there, that all nicely tightened up. We've now formed the knot. Let's give ourselves a little bit more. Give it a lick. And now we slide that up against. You see how that's going to work?
It's gonna...
Okay, we'll just tighten that up a little bit more. And then pull that knot against the leader. Knot, like that. And that's it. Now we can... I wouldn't expect you to pull the carp lines.
line, no.
No, but that'll
This
give you...
is, you could use this no problem
Oh,
around
yes.
2 strands of
No
line.
problem at all. The only reason we're using this is because it's for high visibility.
And trim the ends off.
That's it, and you can trim those nice and close. That's it, that's that one. And same with that one. That's it. There it is. It's not quite so elegant.
We can
But
compare it with that one.
Yeah. It's plenty strong enough.
They'll be very useful for the carp lads, I'm sure.
Something I should reiterate is that these leader knots that we're showing are not optional extras.
Absolutely essential then.
Absolutely essential when it comes to safety.
Yeah.
When you've got a water like this, where you perhaps might get anything, perhaps over 100 people in a day fishing, one crack off with a 3-ounce lead caromed off somebody's skull, and that's bad news for the rest of somebody's life.
Right.
Okay, so these things are not optional extras, they're absolutely essential.
Right.
Plus, when you actually come to casting, it will give you confidence enough to be able to really whack a lead if you do need to.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the nasty bit out of the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, something interesting you mentioned, you have a little formula for working out the strain of leader you would want to use with a given size of lead, say 2, 3, 4 ounces.
Oh yes, ounces of lead times 10 equals the breaking strain of the shock leader you should be using. Now for sea fishing, 5-ounce lead times 10, 50 pound shock leader. For carp fishing we're using what, 3 ounces?
Regularly 3 up to 4.5, 5 ounces sometimes.
Well, this is where you want to start thinking in terms of using the heavier duty shock leaders. But for 3 ounces today, 30 pound is just about right. For sea fishing we had this produced a couple of years ago for the sea fishermen, which is a tapered shock leader, which makes life a lot easier. It means that you get a much smaller knot. You can join with 2 uni knots or a double blood knot, and you get a nice tiny little knot. Now this one tapers from 16 pound right up to 65 pound, which is pretty hefty stuff.
Yeah.
And that's over a length of 33 feet. The actual taper is about 9 feet long.
Right.
As I understand it, they're now doing the same for you.
So the same firm is doing one for carp anglers. I believe there's 2 varieties available. This one I've got here is actually 12 to 30 pounds, so that's, according to your formula would be ideal for leads up to 3 ounces.
Absolutely ideal.
And they're 10 yards long, so it's 30 feet of line, and there's 5 on the spool there.
Perfect.
And you would recommend those, yeah?
Oh,
particularly for ultimate distance, perhaps.
For ultimate distance, absolutely ideal. And where people are worried about the size of the leader knot going up through a set of rings,
of course,
this keeps the size of your leader knot right down to the absolute minimum.
Right.
So you don't have any more worries on that score.
That's great. What I think we need to talk about a little bit, Phil, some of the actual lead setups we use, and I don't think they're too dissimilar from some of the sea setups you
that's
actually
right,
use.
yes. These are actually developed from sea fishing rigs years ago. Obviously they've been refined over the years, but this particular item that you're using here is something that was invented, thought about over 20 years ago. The first chap to write about it, to my knowledge, was Brian Harris in Angling Magazine, September 1971, in an article which he did about cod fishing. And the
cod fisherman invented this? No,
yes.
The carp man must have invented something as good as this.
Well, you'd think so. Yeah, the actual rig was invented by Doug Cooper, who was quite a well-known angler of that particular period, and he went on to actually go and work with one of the big tackle companies, helping them develop some of the gear that we're using today.
Right.
But the gentleman who should have the credit for this particular rig is Doug Cooper. And
I'll take your word for it, Phil.
I've got
Okay.
a sea fishing rig here, one that we would use in sea angling, which utilises, as you can see at this end, exactly the same idea.
Exactly the same setup.
Exactly the same setup, except we now use bait clips to enable us to cast long ranges. So there you go.
And you think that's something that we might be
I think
cottoning onto before long?
Cotton onto these a bit later on. This is a bait clip. So once you've got your baited hook there, you hook on, get ready to cast. And when you cast, the bait clip, due to the stretch in the leader, will move.
Yeah.
Like that. And then when it hits the water, it will drop off.
Clever stuff.
One of the reasons why we use this particular type of rig with power gun is if you are fishing in among snags and you hook a fish, then what happens is that will slide down.
Right.
And you'll actually hold the lead up and out of the way.
Yeah.
Which carp fishermen, I believe, find quite an important point.
Yeah, absolutely.
To actually hold that out. So if you use a power gun, stop knot, this will actually now slide back up if you release the pressure.
Yeah.
But most times you keep the pressure on the fish, and that holds the lead up and out of the way of any snags.
Right.
Anyway, that's a nice little discussion on that particular type of rig.
Right.
There are sliding rigs, but they're not so applicable to long-range fishing.
Right. I would like to add one piece about this. This, as I say, is a commercially available rig which I've altered slightly. You shouldn't use a shock leader with this rig, because if you snap off above the shock leader, the fish can't get rid of that, because the shock leader won't go through that tubing.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want that. So, point to bear in mind.
That possibly is where the tapered leader may come in, because a small knot could actually run down that.
It could well go through that if it's small enough.
Yeah, without too much of a problem.
That is another commercially available helicopter rig, where you line threads through the tubing, tie the lead on, push that bit of tubing over the swivel on the lead, and that is very nice for in the middle of the night, whatever. I mean, it's a good rig anyway. I prefer to use the one with tubing, but if you've lost a fish, you quickly want to get another rig out there.
Whack that on.
Whack that on. Hook length goes on there with a swivel.
Yeah.
Your own hook length, whatever you want to use. Line through there, lead on, in.
Lob it out.
Helicopter rig.
Yep.
Virtually tangle free.
Super sweet. Right. Helicopter rig, long range fishing. Definitely a good thing.
Great.
There are other rigs which are more applicable to short range and stalking fishing. But in the meantime, I think Tim's using the same rig, so I'll shoot off and see what he's
See how he's
doing.
getting on.
£23, can't be bad. Magic.
Brilliant.
Right,
Okay.
all the best.
See you later, Phil.
Right, we're back with you now, Tim. You've had a bit of time to have a play about. Now we've reached the stage where we can get the bait where we want it. And what we want to know now is the reason why. So what we'll cover now is the methods of concentrating the fish, getting them into the area where we want the fish to be, because we happen to know that there's a clear area. So what can you show me now from the carp fisherman's point of view, to go with what I've shown you?
Carp fishing's comparatively easy or comfortable when you've got fish close in. It's easy to bait up. It's easy to concentrate your free offerings.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've taught me to cast 120, 130 yards, and people will be looking and thinking, yeah, well, that's all very well, but hook bait out there, what else can you do about it? Because long-range fishing's become a refined art.
Oh, very much so, yes.
With all these different people concentrating their minds on it. And I think the first thing that you need, once you find the spot where you want to fish, you either see fish or you find a bar or you find a clear area in the weed, as we've done here, and the next important item is the marker float.
Something away, mate, in other words.
That's right. Very heavy lead,
Yeah. So that's
running lead, and the marker float is beyond the lead.
Yeah.
And the knot to the float is protected by a rubber bead.
Well, let's just
So
throw,
the
it, in the,
knot doesn't get
throw it in the water at the edge and
Right.
let's just see how it
Just
works.
see how it works, yeah. Nice clear water, so we should be able to pick this up. Just flick it out there.
Lead straight to the bottom.
That's
Bump.
right. Marker float comes up. You pull it into position, then tighten down, and you've got a very visible mark
Splendid.
out at the
Right.
distance you want
So we
it.
throw that out where we want to fish.
That's right.
So that's our marker. We know
Yeah.
now where to aim not only the baits, but also anything to actually attract the fish into the area.
Yeah.
So we've
And
now
I'd
got some-
just make one other important point there, and that is that you don't want the extra line out there as a rule. So what you do is you get it in position, then you tie a stop knot
Yeah.
just into the line with braided line, something like that, just so that when you cast it out the next time to bait up,
Yeah.
you pull it back into position till you stop knots against the
Right,
reel.
So you've got exactly the same amount of line
You
out.
keep finding
time.
the same spot. Yeah.
Yep. Sounds
Yeah.
excellent to me.
But of
So
course
now you've
then,
got to attract the fish.
that's right.
Right. Let's.
That's right. And this is where the modern gadgets come into play. This particular one, it looks a little bit Fred Carno's, but this is very, very useful for putting boilies out. I've jammed them in.
Yep.
Yeah, putting boilies out. Now this will cast boilies well over 120 yards.
Oh yes.
They fly superbly. Again, we'll just show that in the edge that once it hits the required area, tips up, and they don't all come rushing out at once.
Down they go.
Down they go. You can see them spreading out,
Splendid.
and it does it gradually, so you can pull the spud back bit
So
by
then
bit.
you can get
to spread them around a
just
bit.
a nice
Yeah,
little spread. Yeah, that's excellent. And you can
And-
throw that an easy 120, 130 yards.
flies beautifully.
Just a nice
flies
lob.
beautifully. Yeah,
Right, that's fine.
and of course half an hour's our making effort with that, and you've got yourself a nice little bed of bait
Yeah.
around the
splendid.
marker float.
Which will tend to bring your fish in out of the nasty area, shall we say, and
That's
into
right.
the area where you want to fish, where there
That's
are no
right.
snags.
We'll just look at one other spod. This is the gardener's spod, where if you're wanting to put hemp or groats out as a bed of ground bait, it's not so good for boilies, a bit big for boilies, and really this is sort of limited range, sort of up to 80 yards. But where you're wanting to get a lot of hemp or groats out per cast, that is very, very useful. Very cheap and flies reasonably well, but nothing like as well as the bait rockets that the boys make.
Yes, they're rather nice, those bait rockets. Now, there's something that caught my eye as a sea fisherman, and I thought to myself, God, how can I use that?
Well, this is the throwing stick that we were looking at earlier. Throwing sticks are another innovation, fairly recent, and they started off with the bottom ender, the old glass blanks, you know, people blocking the end of those.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah.
Started off with straight throwing sticks, and then Nina Sanson came up with the Cobra, the curved one, and this is one on from that, the King Cobra, which I don't know why it took me a little bit of a while to get used to it, but this will throw 18, 20 mil boilies. Well, you've been watching, haven't you?
Well, I've actually had to go myself.
120, 130 yards.
Shook me rigid, actually. I
Yeah.
didn't realise you could fling a small item like that so
That's
far.
right.
But the
That's
secret,
right.
of course, is that it spins it backwards.
Yeah.
So it actually climbs through the air, rather like a golf
That's
ball.
right, like a good
Yeah,
2-iron
absolutely-
shot, isn't it?
Absolutely fascinating. Anyway,
yeah.
you'd like to just give us a couple of quick swings.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll chuck a through out towards the bay today. I mean, when you're fishing close in, these things are lovely because you just put like 5 or 6 in and lob them, and you get a good spread around. Obviously, the further out you go, way out there, you're having to chuck them one at a time.
You actually
And it's
hear
just
it
a-
spinning.
You know, a short fire is. These are 14 mils. You know, normally your maximum range for those is about 80, 70, 80 yards.
There's no way you could throw that with your hand.
Oh
And I
no,
would say that will throw it further than a catapult,
it will. Yeah, a lot further.
looking at it.
A lot further.
Yes,
Not
that's
quite as accurate. You know, you have to get used to them.
But
Not
it
quite as-
strikes me from us being here today and working together over the last couple of days that there is a lot that you can teach me, and there's quite a bit that I can teach you. It strikes me that the best thing we could do is to start building bridges again between all the various groups of anglers.
I think we do it. I think we crib a lot of you
That's
boys.
great. Anyway, it's been a pleasure working with you,
And you?
and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks for your help.
Okay, Tim.
All right,
See you
good
later.
luck. Bye now.
it.